Well, it used to be the original shopping was over in Perth Amboy. DuPont at the time, up where the circle is, had a commissary there, and they used to have a lot of stuff like your daily needs of bread, potatoes, stuff like that at the store, and that was cheap. From here, you took the public service bus to South Amboy, then you got the marathon bus from South Amboy to Perth Amboy. New Brunswick just seemed like it was out of reach for most of the people until I'd say probably around the 50s. Then we started migrating to New Brunswick to go to the theater and all. The one in South River had closed down, Sayreville closed, South Amboy closed, so you either had to go to New Brunswick or Perth Amboy to go to movies. The strip malls all started in then, and two guys from Harrison came in, and that became the store for everybody in the area. They started out over in Woodbridge on Route 9 there as a war surplus, the original store. My dad, being a millwright and all, and doing all the stuff mechanically and with tools, we used to go there for great buys and tools. And there was an auction right back of it. In those days, you got good buys. DuPont paid, in the early days, they paid a good wage as compared to most industries. You had DuPont, Hercules, and National Lead, and those three were the leaders in the whole area. So we used to go to the movies in Sayreville all the time. That was every, I think, Wednesday night was dish night. Most of the families ate their meals off dishes that they got. If you got a single plate or cup and saucer, whatever, and that was a gift for each person with a paid ticket. Well, they didn't hire people for being a super genius. They wanted people that could think for themselves and apply themselves. And the main thing with the supervisor, they wanted you to make a decision, and they wanted you to be consistent with your decisions. They were fair. I had 30 years in, and it was a good place to work. They used to do good for the community tremendously. Well, where the Hindu temple is over here, that used to be a parking lot, DuPont's, and they end up giving that to the YMCA free. And the Y was built on DuPont property. Where the first aid is, DuPont owned that property. They gave that to the first aid. Where the post office is, they ended up, I think they transferred that over to the government for $1 after they built the post office. They wanted the post office handy because they had a lot of mail correspondence always going out. I mean, it was like half a truckload every day just from DuPont when the two plants were in full swing. Yeah, because that Parlin Post Office had a bigger mail distribution than the Sayreville one ever had. The first post office that I can remember that DuPont had was up right at the circle. It was an old wooden building in back of the one that's still standing out front there. And that used to have a barber shop in back of the post office and a dentist chair. They were both available to the DuPont employees. I was about 5 years old. I had my tonsils taken out by old Doc Hinton in the DuPont hospital. And then when Hinton ended up retiring, Doc Barnhart took over. He used to have the house catty corner in back of me. He lived there, and he doctored almost everybody in DuPont for years. Well, I think it changed society in the fact so many people have such long commutes When they come home at the end of the day, they're tired, and all they want to do is relax. They don't want to bother with anyone else. When I grew up here, all the women knew all the other women. All the kids played together. And their moms and dads were active in whatever was happening. When I worked in the photo products, when they finally opened the two plants together, because for years they were separate plants because they were separate unions. The front plant was a company union, the back plant was international. So the fence divided them inside. When they opened up the gate and said you could use it, it was faster for me to walk to work to my office than it was for me to walk from the parking lot to my office. Everybody knew everybody. When I first started working the one summer in photo products, I used to stop in the F&F side, the change room there, and I'd have coffee and pastry with my dad because they had it set up, the cafeteria set it up so that they had the donuts there and the coffee there. And I mean, you got a good-sized donut from Gutkowski's Bakery for a nickel. They weren't making any money on it, but it was a convenience to the employees.